On today's show, a local craftsman turns ordinary indoor space into unusual outdoor art.
I'm ice fishing.
Meet a Minnesotan who has been making a difference a long, long time. Joe Duggan loves native habitat and clean water. And we take to Lake Superior in the dead of winter to document Minnesota's most extreme outdoor adventure.
Minnesota Bound, presented by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems.
Hi everybody, Bill and I welcome you to Minnesota Bound.
You know, over the years we've seen all kinds of outdoor art, but never like this.
Travis Frank met Tony Staffke, a craftsman who uses his skills to bring the outdoors indoors.
You ready to do another floor?
You bet.
All right.
Tony Staffke believes gifts are meant to be shared.
Is that buck too small for you, or do you think that'll work?
No, that's nice.
That'll work, okay.
And art has no limits.
And then maybe just a couple other fun little things, like in the trees, maybe we put a squirrel on one tree.
Tony lives to transform spaces in unique and unlikely places.
So this is kind of the distant forest. That'll be kind of in the background. Once you get it sketched out, then you got a game plan, a battle plan. This is a floor mural, which is basically a kind of a three-dimensional look to it, like from a view of a deer stand when you're up in the deer stand.
One brush stroke at a time,
Acrylic, it dries so fast, you gotta do everything in layers.
Tony brings the great outdoors indoors into Jeff Munnen's man cave.
Getting the sponge out of here, because that's what we use for our trees, lots of trees.
Well, I like to deer hunt, so the days I want to be deer hunting, I can come down and sit on the couch and feel like I'm out there.
In a roundabout way, Jeff's deer stand painting idea came from his wife, Tracy.
This is where it all began.
After she secretly hired Tony to transform Jeff's bathroom view.
I didn't know what to say. I was stunned. I'm ice fishing. Right away, I thought we need to do this again on something else.
So Jeff turned to his living room floor.
I thought, well, let's do this. Perfect spot in front of the fireplace.
This scene here, I'm really hoping when it's done that he can sit on this couch and almost get that same feeling when he's up in a deer stand.
So he has a picture in his mind what it's going to look like, and then he just does it.
I feel like Bob Ross. Where's this happy little tree gonna live, you know?
Like Bob Ross, Tony's love for the outdoor world inspires his love to paint.
I'm inspired by, nature, by the beauty of the outdoors. I love the color palettes out there. I love everything about it. It just feels like it's a God-given talent.
A talent he once hid behind the walls of a corporate cubicle.
This is year 11. Before that, I did software engineering.
Tony followed his heart, taking a chance that customers would hire him to create art.
I just knew, this is what I want to do. And I was just so thankful that there was still a market for it.
His market changes every day.
My style actually is pretty flexible, but I can do cartoon, I can do realistic, I can do more 3D. I enjoy it all. But yeah, the wildlife kind of has a little bit of an extra little kick to it that I like.
Hard work and superior talent. It's amazing what he does in the amount of time that he does it.
Call it good. When you're done and you can look at it and the homeowners are happy and it actually was a success and turned out, yeah, it's just a fantastic feeling.
a feeling Tony Stafke has come to cherish. Knowing his God-given gifts bring joy into the lives of others by transforming spaces into artistic places.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems, Star Bank, Crush City, and by Voyager Lodge and Houseboats.
It is time to meet a Minnesotan making a difference. Now, Joe Duggan has always been a longtime friend of Minnesota Bound. But you know what? He is also a friend to all of us who appreciate wild spaces and wild critters.
If you know about ringneck pheasants, you might also know the name Joe Duggan. If not, what you need to know is Joe Duggan has helped create a lot of pheasants. He's also hunted quite a few and ate them too.
I like eating pheasants. It's probably one of the finest birds to eat.
Call it the perfect life calling. For 30 years, until retiring, Joe Duggan was a major player with the National Pheasants Forever organization. His job? Seeking corporate partners to join everyday pheasant hunters with the task of acquiring and preserving habitat for pheasants and other wildlife. Did he win the battle for more grasslands in farm country?
There's intense pressure on the environment, from agriculture to development of all kinds. There's two ways to look at it, I guess. One is, what if we hadn't done something? And the other is, does it matter? The longer I've been in this business, the more I see the interrelationships of the work we do in conservation for pheasants, for instance, for ducks, also affects fish, also affects big game, also affects water quality. There are some things that have changed and we aren't going to be able to get back. But to me, there's a lot of great opportunity to fix things, and there's opportunity to save things. I think it's important, and that was one of the other compelling parts to get involved, was we all need to give back in some sense. I got that from my mom and dad.
Joe Duggan gave back to his passion, making room for wildlife in our lives. In a word, restoring grasslands and pheasants in farm country.
If we don't have expanses of grass, undisturbed, unplowed, unmowed, pheasants will not survive. That same is said for all kinds of wildlife. The key focus is maintaining those grasslands.
There's no mystery. If you don't have grasslands, you don't have pheasants, and you don't have pheasant hunting.
For people who have not hunted pheasants, when you hear this raucous noise and the crowing of a rooster, cackling, leaping from the ground right from your feet, it's a rush.
Seeking the rush, seeking a future for ringnecks explains the life of Joe Duggan.
My dad said something to me a couple times in life, and it keeps ringing. He said, "Joe, if there's something you want to do, you better go do it, because time does not stop."
Today in southern Minnesota, in Jackson County, there's a new 293-acre public hunting area, a wildlife utopia called the Joe Duggan Family Waterfowl Production and Wildlife Management Area. It's the frosting on a life filled with many awards for having a passion for wild things.
That was a very special moment. What we work for is a place for wildlife and critters to live.
All of which means the Joe Duggan family just got bigger.
Coming up next, Laura Shera gets wild in the kitchen with panfish. We cook up crappies, tempura style.
No, just gotta go for it.
Closed captioning provided by Leech Lake Area Tourism.
It's that time of year where many of us are ice fishing, catching loads and loads of panfish. Right, Chef?
Some days, some days.
Well, we're getting wild in the kitchen today, and I'm here with Chef Jim Kimber from Crave Restaurants. And Chef Jim, what's on the menu today?
We're actually making some crappie tacos today.
Crappie tacos?
Okay, crappie tacos.
Ah, crappie
Yes.
tacos. All right, well, how do we get started with that?
We're gonna do them tempura style. We've got our tempura batter. This is a dry mix, and I've got it separated into two parts. One is for dredging the fish. We want a light little coating of the batter on the fish. And then we're gonna actually mix in some really cold water into this one. That's the actual batter. And if you get a few ice cubes in there, that's okay. So you notice I'm really not whisking this or stirring it. I don't wanna bring that gluten out in the flour. I just wanna kinda get it wet. So we've got a little house seasoning, a little seasoned salt there. You're gonna hit little fillets, make them tasty. And then look how light we're gonna just kind of dip those in there.
It's very light. And this is tempura batter as well.
That is the dredge, yep. The tempura batter. We're dredging in there. Shake off the excess. We're gonna go right into the oil.
How hot is our oil right now?
We want it in the range of 350 to 365.
And how long do our crappies cook?
No more than 5 minutes. It goes pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
The tempura batter is actually kind of a paler. It doesn't really get that dark golden brown, but it's really about accentuating the natural flavor of what you're frying with just that little bit of crispiness. Seals everything in. One of my tricks too, you see we got some paper towels down there. You want to drain every little bit of grease off as much as possible.
It's assembly time.
Assembly, let's go. So we're gonna start off with our slaw. We want that as a little bit of a base, so I'm just gonna squeeze some fresh lime onto that.
This is some cabbage and carrots?
This is some cabbage slaw, yeah. We've got a couple different kinds of cabbage, and just a little bit on the bottom of each taco.
Each taco.
Yeah, there you go, just like that.
That piece of crappie?
Piece of crappie.
Fits in there perfectly. Switch it around.
There you go.
There
Little
we
engineering.
go. Yes.
And then here's one of my favorite ingredients to fish tacos. It's spicy mayo. You want to put a little pico de gallo on there for me, please? We got a little piece of avocado. Some fresh cilantro. And there you have it. That's the crappie taco.
All right, ice fishermen and ice fishing ladies, if you had a lot of luck catching crappies, you can go to mnbound.com for a delicious crappie taco recipe. I'm ready to dig in, are you?
I'm hungry.
There's gonna be nothing graceful about this bite.
No, you just gotta go for it.
That is good.
That's it. Well then.
Straight ahead, the story behind an absolute Minnesota rarity. Hang 10 at 10 below zero.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Flow Docks and Lifts, Midwest Exteriors MN, and by Totem Resorts, the premier destination for world-class fishing.
Up next, a true Minnesota moment. Our photojournalist Kyle Heidenreich felt compelled to capture this story as soon as the weather turned bitter cold.
Today we got this big snowstorm. We haven't had any big snowfall so far this season in the metro. Our biggest snowfall has been 3 inches. This is gonna be a wetter, heavier snow, and we could be looking at well over that amount. It's gonna be a big range though, even across the metro. We're talking anywhere from 2 to 9 inches from northwest to southeast. So this is a perfect day for high waves and strong winds on Lake Superior for places like Duluth and the North Shore. The fetch, as we call it, is coming all across Lake Superior. So hundreds of miles of open water so the waves can build. Air's blowing from Thunder Bay in the northern end of the lake all the way south. The best chance to get big waves will be today.
Well, you know, anytime there's a big storm coming, that's when you start looking. So your goal is to find a time when the waves are big and you can see them coming from Canada down from the northeast, and you want to catch it right when the wind shuts off. You get pumped, like you have all this adrenaline coursing because you've got all this anticipation, and it's really hard to go to sleep that night. It's like right before going to Disneyland. In California, there's lots of surfers because it's easy to get surf. In Minnesota, you have to work a lot harder. It's not just handed to you, and you're gonna have to drive. Once you get there, it's pretty much get suited up and into the water as fast as you can, because every second you're outside that car and not in the water, you're losing heat. It's cold. I mean, you're sitting there in water that can kill you. It's really interesting because you do get used to it.
If you're a water person, it's great. If not, it's kind of like, why would you get that cold to get out in the water to do that? But it is worth it. You just got to be safe. This lake is alive for sure.
Every time you see somebody get hit by one of those waves, their hood is getting flushed with ice cold water.
You know, Minnesota's one of those places that you gotta enjoy being outside in the winter. Doesn't matter if it's cross-country skiing, fat biking, or snowshoeing, or surfing.
When the swell comes, you gotta be ready and be available. If you can only surf weekends, you're only gonna get 1 or 2 days of surf a year.
I think it's just a bunch of suckers from California like me who want to surf, and this is what we got.
You know, it's really freeing because you can really spend a lot of time in life getting caught up in work and family and all your obligations. But when you're surfing, there's so many moving parts, you can only focus on that. It doesn't allow your mind to travel on to all those other things that stress you out and distract you in your daily life.
It gets colder. This is medium cold. We've been out there 0 degrees.
I was gonna try to save up a little energy and then come back in here, try to warm up and get back out there.
When I come out, I also have a very clear head, it feels like I'm in a really kind of zen place.
My mouth's a little bit numb too. I can't get all my sounds out.
A lot of guys that surf is their church. It's a lifestyle, it's a choice. There's no equivalent.
Unbelievable.
Definitely one of those stories you have to see to believe.
So we have a challenge for you. What is the most bizarre sport you've seen? If you've got an answer, we want you to buzz us at Instagram. We will post the most bizarre answers on our Instagram page.
Also, if you'd like to learn more about the Lake Superior surfing scene, you can go to our podcast on mnbound.com.
It's the stories behind the stories. That does it for us. We'll see you back here next week.
In the meantime, don't forget to introduce a kid to the great outdoors.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. To get more Minnesota Bound, including full episodes, go to mnbound.com. And to follow our latest adventures, like us on Facebook.